Hey, first grade, we're going to continue our work with the path from Hansel and Gretel and our work with the skip counting. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. Our target stays the same. I can skip count by 5s and 10s, which means that we're still going to be efficient counters in the way we move by making sure that we're jumping by 5s and 10s versus counting every single one. So we've been working with Hansel and Gretel the last couple of days, and they've been marking the walking paths near their little house in the woods. But now the trails are so well marked with pebbles and breadcrumbs and pine cones that other people in the village nearby are starting to use them too. So they want to clean up the trails a bit, and they decided that it would be nice to put in some fences and some benches and plant some pretty flowers. So they decided that each fence section should be 10 steps long. Each bench should be 5 steps long, and each flower pot should be only 1 step long. So I'm going to show you on my picture here. So this is my fence. My fence is 10 steps long. Okay. The bench is 5 steps long. And the flower pot is 1 step. Okay, so if I had 2 fences together, 2 fences would be 20 steps because this fence is 10, the next fence is 10, and 10 plus 10 equals 20. If I had a fence and a bench, I would have 10 steps for my fence plus 5 steps for my bench, and that would give me a total of 15 steps. If I had a fence, a bench, and a flower pot, you do the math. Tell me how many steps that would be. So again, you have a fence, a bench, and a flower pot. So think about how long a fence is, a bench, flower pot. Tell me how many steps in all. So we're going to stack it. We're going to make a vertical equation. So we know that a fence is 10 steps, a bench is 5 steps, a flower pot is 1 step. So remember, crew, when you're stacking equations, you have to line up your 10s and your 1s. If you don't and you move things around, you're changing the value of your number. So when we have a stacked vertical equation like this, we always start with adding the 1s first. Remember, the best way to remember this is that the 1s are the last number. And when we see a single number like 5, we can think of it as 0, 5. There are no 10s, there's only 5 1s. So let's add. 0 plus 5 is 5. 5 plus 1 is 6. So 0 plus 5 plus 1 equals 6. Now we can go over to the 10s column. And whenever we have a blank number, because we don't have any 10s, we treat it like a 0. So this is 1 plus 0 plus 0, which is 1. So 10 plus 5 plus 1 is 16. So a fence, a bench, and a flower pot is 16 steps. So here's how these things will look when they're placed along the path. So let's figure out this side together. So remember, a fence is 10 steps. A flower pot is 1 step. A bench is 5 steps. Flower pot, flower pot, flower pot, flower pot. So 1 step, 1 step, 1 step, 1 step. So now let's add it all together to figure out how many steps this path is. All right, so I'm going to go off to the side over here. I'm going to stack my equation again. So I have a 10. I'm going to jump to my bigger numbers. I have my 10, I have my 5, and I'm going to quickly count up my singles to make it easier, instead of plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, I'm going to group them together. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So another 5. So again, remember when you're stacking an equation, you have to stack the ones, which are here, on top of each other, and the tens on top of each other. If you move this 5 over here, you're saying that there are 5 tens, which is 50. That is completely different than the number 5. So be very careful about how you stack your numbers. So we're adding 0 plus 5 plus 5. So 0 plus 5 is 5. 5 plus 5 is 10. I can't write the number 10 here because I can only write ones. So when we look at the number 10, the number 10 is 0 ones and 1 10. So what I do is I add my 0 ones, I drop my 0 ones, and I push my 10 up here. I have another 10. When you see numbers like this, you treat them just like an addition equation. So I added my ones, I had 0 ones and 1 10. I can't put my 10 down in the ones column. I move it up to the top and I put it with my other 10s. So I have 1 10 plus 1 10 plus 0 plus 0. So 1 10 plus 1 10 is 2 10s. So my number is 20. 10 plus 5 plus 5 is 20. So this side of the path is 20 steps. So if you're walking along this path, it will take you 20 steps. You also could have looked at the other side of the path and recognized that there's just 2 fences, which is 10 steps and 10 steps, and added 10 plus 10, which is 20 steps. So we can check our math there. So now that we know what they're worth, we're going to do a quick designing activity. So this is very similar to your student book page, page 60. Looks just like this. There's a reminder about how long a fence is. So remember, a fence is 10. A bench is 5. And a flower pot is 1. So we're going to treat these as paths. And we get to have some fun designing what we want the path to look like. So there's a lot of directions here. So Miss Ackerman doesn't have a partner, so I'm going to do it on my own. And we don't have Unifix cubes, so you're going to use crayons. Miss Ackerman's using 3 different pens. So you can use 3 different markers, 3 different pencils, 3 different crayons, whatever you have at home. But my fence is going to be this pinkish color. My bench is going to be blue. And my flower pots are going to be red. So my job is to build 4 fence sections, 4 benches, and 12 flower pots. So 4 fences, 4 benches, and 12 flower pots. And I have 6 groups of 10 to help me design that any way I want to. So I'm going to start off with a fence here. And I know that a fence is 10 steps long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I have a fence, and then I'm going to put 2 flower pots because I have 2 spots left. 1 flower pot, 2 flower pots. Then I think it'd be nice if we had a couple benches. So I'm going to put a bench here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a bench. I'm going to put another one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 2 benches. I'm going to put another one over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and one over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm done with my benches. I have 4 benches. Okay, so now I need to work on 3 more fences and 10 more flower pots. So I'm going to put another fence here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now I need to put 2 more fences. So I'm looking around for a spot that has 10 and I don't see any. So that means I'm gonna have to move a bench somewhere. So I need to create room for 2 more fences. So in order to do that, I'm gonna move some of my benches. I'm gonna put another bench here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm gonna change this from a bench to a fence. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I still have my 4 benches. I have 3 fences now. So I'm looking around. I still don't have another spot for 10. So I'm gonna move another bench. I'm gonna move this bench up here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So because I moved this bench up here, I can now make this a fence. So I'm gonna color it over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I still have my 4 benches and now I have room for 4 fences. It's okay if you guys have to move things around like that because it's practice. So don't feel bad if you have to change things like Miss Ackerman did. It's tricky to do this without cubes like we would in class. So we're just going to be very flexible about how it turns out. All right, so I have 4 fences, I have 4 benches, now I need 12 flower pots. So I already have 2 here. I'm gonna put 2 over here. So I have 2, 4. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 8, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so now you can see that I have fence, flower pots, bench, bench, flower pots, fence, bench, flower pot, bench, flower pot. You're gonna do the same thing in your student book on page 60. So the only difference is that you're building 2 fences, 4 benches, and 10 flower pots. So 2 fences, 4 benches, and 10 flower pots. Remember, if you have to move things around, that's completely fine. Miss Ackerman had to do the same thing. So you're going to pick your colors for the fence, the bench, and the flower pot, and you're going to create a little arrangement for what our path could look like when we have 2 fences, 4 benches, and 10 flower pots. Once you guys get this finished, snap a picture and upload it to Dojo.